Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a TV review. Now I'll be having a look at the pilot episode of the new sci-fi drama, Rewind. So Rewind, in case you haven't guessed the title, is a time travel series. Now this is going to have a couple of spoilers in this review. If you haven't seen the premiere episode yet, I'd just go checking it out before watching this review. So this can be described by simply calling it a cross between series like Stargate, Quantum Leap and a little bit like Terminator as well. Now the central premise here, we have a scientist detonates a nuclear bomb in New York, wiping out 9 million people. No one quite really knows why he did it. There's a kind of a military liaison guy who sort of tried to stop him, and he gets sort of brought in. There's actually a program being developed by the military for time travel. We're led to believe ultimately that the reason why this guy detonated this bomb in New York is ultimately he wants people to go back and save his wife who was murdered in the past, thus preventing him from detonating this bomb in New York. So basically we have a kind of a small band of like military and scientists ultimately developing this technology where they can send people back, and they can't really say exactly when they're going to go back. It's the sort of the portal, if you like, is kind of random in where it sort of is and what time. And in this particular episode, they go back to the 1920s and they develop a plan of which where they can potentially sort of, you know, adjust the timeline so this guy's wife will never get killed and ultimately he'll never feel like he has to detonate this bomb. Now, I won't really go too much further into the plot ultimately in case you haven't seen it. Suffice to say, it doesn't all go completely to plan and things start to go wrong, and we're left with a kind of zinger at the end ultimately that is obviously setting up for a continuing series. Now the actual concept of this program I think is pretty decent, although the logic is a little bit flawed, because ultimately you think about it, if they had saved this guy's wife, then in theory the bomb would have never have gone off, and in theory the program to start the time travel to go back would have never happened in the first place. So there you go. So there are some sort of continuum issues that that is probably going to crop up in this sort of TV show. And obviously we have had speaking of continuum, that's obviously a successful TV show that's running at the moment. That's obviously involving time travel as well. I'm getting the impression that's probably why we're seeing this one. But overall, if you kind of look past maybe some of the sort of the logics and that you can sort of pick holes in, the actual concept of it is pretty good, and it does look like it's going to be really the closest to sort of Quantum Leap that we've seen in sort of some time. Now the real issue here I have is the actual characters that you actually have in this pilot or this TV show, because I think what's happened is someone's come up with the concept of this TV show, and they sort of maybe mapped out what potentially could happen and etc. But what they've done is they haven't really thought about the characters. The problem here is that the characters that we actually have in this TV show are very, very stereotypical archetypes. These sort of, we've got the kind of the uptight scientist, we've kind of got the almost a bit of a renegade like lead government guy who's obviously a good-looking white guy, and his sort of mate is obviously a black guy. And we've got the kind of the tech team behind the scenes that are all sort of obviously. You know, we've got the geeky one, for example, we've got the kind of the old one. So it's a very, very sort of typical sort of cross-section of what you expect to see in these sort of TV shows, with lots of different sort of demographics catered for, and all the sort of the standard sort of personal things that you have. You've kind of got this sort of military guy who's obviously acting a bit shady, and of course he is a bit shady, stuff like that. So I actually think the premise of the actual TV show is pretty good, but the problem is here is the sort of the very generic characters that we've got here. Maybe that will change as the sort of series goes on, I don't know. I think the premise is good enough to sort of maybe check it out for a second time. I hope they do something a little bit more interesting with the characters, however. So I want to give this one a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What are your views on it? Leave me a comment. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.